Hey guys, it's Miss Kraz today. Today we're going to start our first new material. So if you haven't, press pause on this video and go to Google Classroom and either download this or open it and look at what it is. Today it's not that important. You can definitely do everything like on a sheet of paper. But for the rest of this, like the next couple days, you're definitely going to want to be able to see the packet. So if you can print it, that would be great. Otherwise, you can just open it up and like digitally, and we can figure it out that way. Okay, so today we're just going to remind ourselves what each of the symbols mean. Okay, so if you want to try it on your own and then you can check, okay, you can write down each of these symbols, press pause to this video, and then try to fill in the blanks. Okay, give you a second. Okay, so if it points to the right, this is going to be greater than. Did you get that? Okay, so this is greater than. If it points to the left, this is less than. Okay, now up until now, which this is how we're going to practice today actually, is you guys have compared two numbers and you always, your teachers probably have told you that the alligator eats the bigger one, right? So if I put like a 10 over here and a 2 over here, 10 is greater than 2, it wants to eat the bigger one. Same thing goes for this guy. Okay, but now we're going to have variables eventually. Okay, so it really is very, 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 very important that you guys know the difference between greater than and less than. I always remember less than, okay, has an L and it points to the left. Okay, so see like the little arrowhead of a left, okay, and then greater than goes to the right. Also, if you think of a number line, right, so this is 0, my negative numbers, so as you go low, right, these are my low numbers, and then as I go to the right, I'm going to my positive numbers. So that's another way that you can remember your less than or greater than. So then obviously if greater than is like this, if we add a little like half of the equal sign under it, that would be greater than or equal, and then of course this is less than or equal. Okay, so we can use these symbols to compare quantities that are not equal to each other. Okay, so up until now, we've actually done equations. So remember, these are called inequalities. Okay, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Okay, so we're just going to start off comparing numbers. So again, we have our possible ones that we can use. I didn't make any equal to or I didn't want you to put greater than or equal to. Okay, so just greater than or less than. So 8 is greater than 3, so it's going to point that way. 9 is greater than negative 10. 0 is less than 1. So these you should be easy to remember. It opens up to the bigger number. The other thing is we're adding in positive and negatives. Okay, so be careful. Okay, so now when we're comparing decimals, remember we go to the decimal that doesn't match, right? So for this one, we have a 1 and a 1, and then we have a 0.5 and then a 0.75. So this is a half, this is 3/4. So this would be less than. Okay, 1/2 is what to 3/4? Well, if we were to change this, this would be like 2/4, right? That's the same. So 2/4 to 3/4, this is definitely less than. Okay? -2 is what to -8. Now be careful when you're comparing two negatives because remember this one has a smaller absolute value, so it's going to be closer to 0. Okay? So if you needed to, you could draw like a little number line. Okay, -8 would be over here, -6, 4, -2. So this is actually going to be greater than -8. And then for this one, -2.25 is what to -2? Well, so this one has a larger absolute value, so it's actually smaller, right? It's going to be further away. So we'll do this. Okay, so this would be -2, and then -2.25 would be about there. So this is less than. Okay, and then -1/3 is what to -2/3? Well, again, if we draw a little number line, we have 0. And let's say -1 is over here. If we break this up into thirds, this would be -1/3. This would be -2/3. So actually, -1/3 is greater than -2/3. And then remember, we hate comparing two decimals, or a decimal with a fraction. So let's do change these both to decimals. Okay. So again, if we were to draw a number line, we would have 0. We would have -1. We'll put this up into quarters. So we have -0.25, -0.5, and then -0.75. Ooh, that was terrible writing. Sorry. So -7.5 or -0.75 is right here, and then -0.5 or 5/10 would be right here. So this is actually greater. Okay, so that's how we compare two numbers. The last thing we're going to do is we are going to do the same thing, but now we're not just comparing two like integers, decimals, rational numbers. Now we have either a rational number with an expression, or we have two expressions, and we want to know, we want to compare them. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to simplify both sides, and then we can compare. So this side is obviously going to stay in 8. Then we're going to do our order of operations. So just as a reminder, PEMDAS. Remember, we add and subtract from left to right. All right, so let's do our parentheses first. We get 9 divided by 3. So 8 is what to 3? It's going to be greater than. Okay, and that's just what you're going to do for all of these. So you don't have to keep writing that. I was just showing you. Okay, so -6 plus -10. Remember, the signs are the same. Keep it the same and add. So this is going to be -16. Feel free to use a calculator or your cell phones, whatever you guys have to do. Also, you can press pause and use Google if you need to. Okay, so -5 is going to be closer to 0, so that means it's going to be greater than -16. We'll do division first. So it's going to be 5 minus 12. Okay, so I have 5 and I'm subtracting 12 from it, so I'm going to be in the negative. So -7. Okay, remember you could always add the opposite too if that's easier. So -10 is going to be further away from 0, so it's actually less than -7. Okay, so again, you're comparing the number to whatever the final simplified version of this is. So we get, I don't know why I rewrote that. Okay, so we have multiplication right here. So we're going to do 5 plus, and this will be a -20. So remember, the signs are different. Take the sign of the larger absolute value and subtract. So -15. -9 is going to be closer to 0. So -9 is actually greater than -15. And then we have -3. So now we're going to simplify both sides. Okay, so -3 plus 4. Take the sign of the larger number, which would be positive, and subtract. So we get +1 is what to 5, and that would be less than. And the last one, oh, missed GUI, didn't you put parentheses in here? Silly. Okay, so we have 4 plus -12, so this is going to be a -8 divided by 2, so that ends up being -4. And then on this side, we get -1 plus 5, so that's going to be a +4. So this is going to be less than. Okay, guys, so short and sweet today. Well, I guess well over 10 minutes. So now if you could please log into Google Classroom. Okay, and you are going to do, so it's intro to inequalities. Okay, it's a Google form quiz. So try this, and I'll see you next time for solving inequalities.